All right, I'm live. Oh, just one second. Trying to rush around here, folks. It's a little short notice, and I had some things to do. So, sorry. All right, we're good. We're good. I was actually having a quick snack. Just did a workout, and well, little while ago. But anyways, gotta keep the old energy replenished. But yeah, thanks for you folks who did chime in on my Facebook post earlier today. Because as you know, it's been a while. Haven't been doing any live streams really per se. And to be honest with you, the underlying reason behind it is the simple fact that, as you folks know, or many of you that have been following my content for a long time, I've been at this for a long time, folks. Long time. What are we going on? 14, 15 years now. And, I'm an evidence-based guy. I mean, I have to. I live in the real world. I'm an evidence-based guy, and I deal with reason and logic and, like thinking from first principles. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, just objectively speaking, over the last 15 years, have things actually gotten better, right? Or after, even let's just go even post COVID, right? And the insanity that ensued during that short, or seemed like it forever at the time, but that time frame, right? 2020 to 2023 or so. But you would think after all that, and especially after all the evidence came out to prove just how, not just out of touch, some people were just low information folks, a lot of them, but how much actual propaganda and manipulation and coercion, right? And using government, which is force, as the means to the end. I mean, we see in, like, what was it? Upwards of 25% of Canadians were on board with putting the unvaccinated in jails, locking them up and denying them health care. I mean, and that's just scratching the surface of some of the insanity, right? But not to mention the invocation of the Emergencies Act and destroying people's livelihoods. And I mean, you folks know, the gamut of shit that actually took place. But you would think after that, and then once the truth was revealed and years have passed, I mean, the truth is out there for everybody to know, right? It's not just those of us who are actually objective and thinking from first principles that understood this stuff. Now everybody has access to the truth that the vaccines never stop transmission or never stop a person from getting the virus. But yet these very same people, and that's the other thing, these very same people are now the elbows up fucking retards, right? Like that think that they're going to somehow, which if you look at them, they're basically the 98-pound weakling in the room. And America under Trump is like this big, giant behemoth, heavyweight, championship titled fucking UFC champ, right? But for some fucking strange reason, the elbows up crowd who thought that they could stop a virus from spreading, or that if you put arrows on the floor of a store, or put a mask on that was, and they, basically everybody was wearing, like, what fucking, some people were wearing scarves as masks, and those stupid masks that you buy at the dollar store, which was what basically everyone was wearing, with those those piece of shit, like light blue colors. I mean, I love the example is, like, if you fart in your underwear and it's got to go through your underwear and your pants and you still smell it, but you're stupid enough to believe these fucking masks fucking protect you. I mean, come on. These people are not, they're way out of touch. And some of them, like I say, a lot of them are out of touch, but some of them are just fucking vile, evil people that wanted to control and dominate people so severely that they were willing to go along with absolute bullshit. Hold on a sec here, folks. For the most idiotic reason that you could possibly imagine. Anyways, just give me one sec here. Why is this not doing the loop? Should be doing a loop. Anyways, whatever. Forget about that. Like I say, I was a little hastily setting this live stream up. But yeah, these folks, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could probably chalk a lot of it up to maybe the prescription pills, right? That's quite prevalent these days. But I mean, whatever reasoning or justification these people, convince themselves of to support, like, the most insane shit on the planet. I mean, it's just so omnipresent and undeniable at this time that whatever the reason it is, nothing has changed, man. And in fact, it has only gotten worse. I mean, just today as an example. I mean, look at it. Just when you think, oh, like Guilbeault's out in terms of one of the Liberals, and who's he replaced with? Yeah, another Trudeau era fucking lackey that will do whatever the fucking now the Carney Liberals will tell them to do. And you got like that stupid fucking retarded cunt fucking Elizabeth May out there. Oh, oops, I made a mistake. I voted for listen. Listen, all these people that she was privy to all the knowledge we were, right? Of course, actually, I never thought to check on this, but does that woman have any fucking kids? Because anyone that's voting for all this bullshit, it's like, why do you hate your kids and grandkids and potentially great grandkids so much that you just want to keep economically enslaving them to the point where, you know, they're just going to have the most horrendously difficult time going through life. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And it's been infuriating. And every time, it's the thing. I got to kind of slow down here because I got so much on my mind here. But every time I even want to get my, like I'm done now. I have lots of time now to do my live streams. And every time I get ready to hit the button, say, let's do a live stream, I keep thinking, no. But am I going to be really saying a whole lot more than I've been saying for fucking many years now? Because I really, even at this point, I'm like, sometimes I even get sick of hearing myself go on, right? But I'm torn. And then I think about all the other people. Like I aligned with a lot of people before my last season. When I was off doing my live stream last season, I got a lot of connections from a lot of people in Canada. And I'm not saying anything bad about these people, right? A lot of these YouTubers or personalities or content creators. Some of them are just, seemingly great people. The problem is, though, fucking is, and I don't know what it is with everyone in this country, is why do you fucking obsessively think, and when is enough? When is the proof? When is there enough proof that sitting and bantering about politics, conservatives versus liberals, Pierre Poilievre versus whether it was Trudeau or now Carney, like, when are you going to get fucking sick and tired? Like sometimes I get highly frustrated and actually a little bit angry at the fact that you're giving Canadians some serious false fucking hope. Because I got to tell you, based on all of the evidence that I've accumulated over all the years, I do not see a political solution to the fucking ills in our society. And once again, I've said this in the past too. Even in your own personal situation. So the status in your life, or maybe you don't have the status in your life anymore. Maybe you've defooed yourself. But either way, have they all tucked their tails between their legs, bowed their heads and come back and said, you know what? Yeah, I've done some terrible things. I've aligned with some horrendous people. I was indoctrinated. I was following an ideology that was not just harming myself, but even the people that I pretend to care about. And people like you, has anyone come around to apologizing or even acknowledging, right? No. I mean, for the most part. I mean, I'll just say even in my own life, no. The same people now, like, the first few years, I did have to go through a lot of weeding out of people because to me, and I don't have that blind loyalty. I think that's the key determining factor. That's the key difference between a libertarian or an anarchist or a voluntarist than any kind of status, right? Or even people who just believe in collectivism. I listen, as you know, I mean, come on, right there, says it right. Family. I'm all about the family, and I am. Talk to people who know me. I love my family, but not every one of them. Not every one of them. Because family is like a collective term, right? So I can say I love my family, but then, to be honest, I have to break that down and be more nuanced. If I'm being completely honest, it's like I love the members of my family who share my values, who don't want to constantly inflict economic and social harm on me, right? I don't have a Stockholm syndrome like so many other fucking Canadians, but that's the thing. People get stuck in this mindset with this in-group preference, which goes right back to the old amygdala, the 8 part of our brain, right? But where they'll seemingly put up with the most fucking insane shit so that they can have, I don't know, some false pretense that we're all one big happy family. You're not a big fucking happy family. It's not a big happy family, even in our own personal families. And it sure as fuck is not the reality in terms of the country of Canada or our provinces. There's so much divide, as everyone knows. I mean, just Anyone that goes on social media and everyone, all these fucking talking heads and experts and fucking media pundits and everyone will admit, oh, these things have never been more divided. But yet they'll talk in collective terms like we're all like one part of it, one big happy. What the fuck? They're all walking, talking contradictions. And why that is because not anyone's thinking from first principles. They're not using proper ethics, sound logic, or reason as the basis to form their opinions or perspectives. It's just always about my feels or some form of tribalism or collectivism. And I'm telling you, folks, it's going to fail you every fucking time. Because if you just keep playing the games of left versus right, conservative versus liberal, you're still going to be stuck in that insanity loop forever. And the worst part of it is, even for those of you who want to put up with it, or somehow, I don't know, you dull your senses on a regular basis in order to deal with it. I don't know. I mean, I have to do that too myself sometimes, but is there ever any point in time in your life where you don't want to have to do that? That's a big question to me. Is there any point in your life, or is everyone like a fucking modern day Hitler, Mein Kampf motherfucker, that they just want to have a struggle session every fucking day? And I get it. Yes, especially as men, we have a call to action. We have a yearning, to do something, but it can't just be sitting playing fucking struggle sessions or pretending in your mind that if I just type enough bullshit on the internet, that's going, or if I just go check a box, right, once every few years, or maybe hold a protest sign, or maybe sign a petition. I mean, I've watched this play out, like I say, for going on 15 years. None of it has worked, folks. None of it. So, the old definition of Sandy. When do we move beyond politics? And when does everyone listen? And that's the thing. I don't like to be the one to rain on people's parade, which is why a lot of times when I go on these shows or other people's YouTube channels or podcasts or live streams, I try to get along as best I can, because I don't want to be that guy that's constantly be the one that every time I have to interject some reality, sobering second thoughts, because I get it. That makes me look like, oh, better you sit down. But you know what? Like I say, so I sit back for the most part, just like now. Everyone's had their chance to do all their collaborating, right? And everyone's like, getting their YouTube numbers padded or bumped up stuff by all these. But is it doing anything to actually change our culture? No, you're all just sitting around. Everybody, the left's doing it, the right's doing it, like all the political people, they're just sitting there functioning in their echo chambers and thinking that, oh yeah, this is going to fix it. It's not going to fix a fucking thing. Not a fucking thing. And I don't know how many years it's going to take before some of you folks come to realize this is what it is. Just like in my workplace, there's the reason why there's the fucking owner of the company. There's accountant type people. There's like the foremans. There's the machine operators. There's the truck drivers. And most of us in our jobs understand that you yield to competence and not authority in terms of some arbitrary authority, but people who genuinely know what the fuck they're doing and maybe have the proper formulation to try to get us out from under this mess, or at least know the formula that has the best potential to do so. And in reality, that undeniably are the philosophers. That people have to, like, bare minimal, like at the very bottom of, if you want to get it from underneath statism and all this bullshit, you better at least bare minimally know what it is to be a free human being. Most people don't, and most people don't even want to talk about it. Even when I bring that up on the conversation, it usually gets switched over into something like talk about politics once again. Okay, well, once again, I get it. And I get that there's lots of people, you're feeding the red meat to your base. And I get it. And that will help, that reinforcing loop will keep y'all going for a long time. But once again, is it doing anything to affect real fucking change in this country? No. And if you're honest with yourself and if you're honest with me, you'll have to admit the exact same. Nothing has changed other than the fact that it's continuing to get worse. They're doubling down on the insanity. There's nothing that I see in the foreseeable future coming from anybody that's going to help the situation. I mean, sure, you might temper things a bit, but it's just a matter of, whether the people who are talking about, like, this propagandist dude that I'll show you actually here a little bit, this Montreal Propaganda Center that's, I don't know, for some fucking reason, virtue signaling that apparently we're all terrible people for living in this country because we somehow stole other people's fucking land, right? So you claim They're saying, oh, the crown doesn't, these crowns or these governments don't get to claim ownership over all this land. Well, but yet the tribes do, right? A different form of government. What do you think a fucking tribe is? They have a chief, right? And they have band councils. That's called government. But yet you say that they have some legitimate claim over like all of what they call it, Turtle Island, I guess, Canada, what we call Canada today. But somehow they had some legitimate claim over, what, millions and millions of square fucking miles or kilometers, right? Yeah. If I decree it's mine. But if some other fucking dude that calls himself a king and wears a gold thing on his head, if he does it, oh no, that's illegitimate. But if this fucking guy that wears a different kind of headdress, right, different kind of thing on his headdress, maybe has a little different of an outfit or uniform, they can do it. Like, this is the fucking level of insanity that Canadians function at. It's always broken down to the left versus right. It's just men versus women, right? The LGBT community versus straight people. All the I don't know, like BIPOC, like all the people who have different skin pigmentations against white people, which is so fucking insane, as if there's just like one kind of white. It's all just down to binary thinking with absolutely no nuance and no thinking from first principles whatsoever. And yet people just continue to just want to absorb that. And people like myself who've been at this longer, and I'll just say it straight up, motherfucker, I'm not going to apologize for it. All right. This live stream, there's not going to be a whole lot of humble or humility, a whole lot of it in here, because I'm just going to be straight up with you folks. I was here long before, and not just playing fucking politics, actually trying my best to desperately educate and inform and enlighten most of my fellow Canadians, or at least as many as it would be, even give me the chance a day just to listen to me. I was here long before. And yet all these people, and I get it, everyone likes their 15 minutes of fame. I get it. But there's a lot of people in this, if you had all these 15 minutes of fame and if we just want, what was it, because we live in a more socialist country, everybody has to get their 15 minutes of fame, right? Equity, is that what it is? Even the people who are supposedly against leftism and equity, you actually want to what? You want to have equal, and everybody has the same, level of audience participation or activity or followers or subscribers, or like I say, it's just insane. At some point in time, you're going to have to get to the point where you have to yield your fucking own ambitions, at least when you're talking in this damn political realm or rhetorical realm, to the people who are actually competent enough to educate and inform and enlighten people properly. So that at least they have the basis, right? For what's the baseline knowledge that you need before you can even start to change things properly at the cultural level? What it is to be a free human being. In addition to raising our next successive generations to understand these things as well, which, of course, peaceful parenting and shout out to Stefan Molyneux and things like giving young people the actual knowledge so that when they do grow up, they're not going to be stuck in this trap, this insane cycle of left versus right. When do we get to the point, or I've been to that point a long time, but when do the rest of you, and not all of you, mind you, because I know some of you are definitely right there with me. I know some of you are, but there's a fucking lot that aren't. But when does everyone realize that, okay, I get it. Yeah, maybe, because if your whole thing is you care about your own situation, you care about the future of this country or in your province or in your community, is, use actual evidence and the real world to determine and dictate if you're being effective in any way. Because I got to tell you, there's nothing that's been said politically that has ever opened me up in any way, shape, or form. It's just, to me, it's just people arguing over the fucking Leafs versus Canadians. It's like that does nothing to educate me. It does nothing to give me to put me in the proper mindset so I can think properly going forward. What does is learning to think from first principles, understanding things like UPB, the NAP, property rights, self-ownership, all these things. The baseline, the fact that government, all forms of government, are 100% and provably so illegitimate. There's no such thing as legitimate government. It's an oxymoron. It literally is. Anyways, just give me a sec here, folks. Here, I'm going to check on some of the comments, but yeah, I just got to give myself a second here to collect my thoughts. But yeah, it's really been infuriating for me, and I really like to, as you know, folks know, I love to get on and talk about these things and have vigorous discussions with others. And I've supported, as you know, I mean, even for the libertarians, even my fellow libertarians, but not the philosophical libertarians, or even the ones who are philosophical, but somehow they play this game. It's so weird. When they're talking to me in private, they act like they understand that statism is illegitimate and government is illegitimate, but then they go out and they're like all promoting like a political party and stuff. And as I've said before, like, listen, I get it, and I can't be mad at everyone because libertarians aren't the people that I should be, but you're not really helping things by keeping people stuck in the doldrum at the political level, or giving them this fucking false hope, whether it's the People's Party of Canada or any of the libertarian parties in this country. And like I say, there's some really great people in these parties. So please, you at the individual level, and if you're a libertarian, you know damn well I'm not talking about you in particular, but there are, it is just a generalized statement because we see it, and you've seen it yourself, is you're just not helping the situation. And I get all the work. Another thing, and I've said this before too, is think of all the hard work and effort, time and resources people put into to start up these parties, to go around door to door, right? Put out the literature, the content, whatever. And all for what? For what? So that people can think that if they just go and vote against these people and just vote for, I mean, I've watched the PPC for 3 or 4 voting cycles, and they've actually lost. They have less support now, I think, that they did even during the first few times when they were new upstarts. So it's not working out so well. And it'll turn out to be the exact same for all the libertarian parties in this country as well. And it's the same in the US. I mean, the US is libertarian central, right? I mean, there's more libertarians in the US, way, way, way more, and not just because they're a 10-time higher population, but I'm talking about on average in the US than there's in Canada. And even the Libertarian Party, most of them, if you ask them, press them on, they recognize, we're never going to win an election. No, of course not, because most of the people in your country have turned to statism. They're indoctrinated into the faith. And it's a lot of work, as you know, as we all know. It's difficult enough to just get one fucking person to start thinking critically about things, but you're going to somehow magically upend that for hundreds of millions of people in the US or in Canada, tens of millions of people. No, it's not happening. And like I say, I've proven that time and time again, election cycle after election cycle. But yet everyone's just like, let's just double down on playing the politics. And none of these people, that's the other thing. A lot of these people who I have connections with, none of them ever, when you see, for the most part, I'm not saying there's none at all, but for the most part, when you see me, whether I'm interviewing or we're having a discussion or debate or anything on a live stream where there's me and other people, most of the time it's because I initiated it or I enticed or invited them to have a conversation. Most of them these days, and I think what a lot of it is, and I'm just going to say this straight up, I think because this is Canada, I think a lot of the excuses or their justifications they use in their mind is a direct result of the tall poppy syndrome or the crabs in the bucket. I mean, and forget it. Let's not even make it about me. Even when you're talking about, like, to me, I've been waiting, anxiously anticipating, is there anyone going to step up and come forward that maybe has even a better way of doing things and a better way to get people on board with individual liberty and such, and stop being so heavily indoctrinated into statism, or at least going along with it tacitly because they benefit from it, right? No one so far, and like I say, I've been paying attention, no one so far has shown to be superior in any way than someone like Stefan Molyneux in terms of bringing the kind of knowledge that really needs to be brought forward, to put us in a better place. And yet Molyneux has a much. Now, I'm glad that he's back on X and he's getting a little better, but his audience pales in comparison even to most of the political pundit types, the ones that want to play the left versus right. So what that tells me is objectively, people are still playing at the political level. They're still functioning in that adolescent realm and completely rejecting stepping out into the harsh reality of the adult world intellectually. Because what it is, they recognize that they don't function. They're not at the very high point in that hierarchy, right? So they're like, oh no, I don't want to go there because I might end up being down here. And my ego tells me I want, at least in the political realm, right? If I can put out enough rhetoric, appeal to people's prejudices, their biases, or their amygdala part of the brain, I can get lots of attention or do lots of clickbaity shit. I mean, yes, that works. But just like with the state, if you just use utility, right, as your means to an end, well, every authoritarian or dictator or totalitarian regime has been, very effective in terms of the utilitarian aspect of what they've done. Like to the point of like very efficient at killing or starving people to the tune of tens of millions of people. Very, very efficient at it, right? Very effective at it. But that's bad. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So once again, you got us, Canadian, my fellow Canadian peeps, please, or at least those of you who care about where this country is going, where it's at right now currently, and the trajectory we're on, and possibly trying to change that. Like I say, at some point in time, you're just going to have to put your ego in check. And like I say, find ways to actually collaborate, support, promote, or do something that's actually going to help situations. Because keeping everyone at the political level is not going to do it. Anyways, like I said, I'm just going to check in on some of the comments here and then go a little more from there. So, hey, what's going on, Healer? Good morning from Miracle Beach, BC. Jeez, I can imagine how many accounts you must have had to go through there with. Now you're at 7552. No, I guess you just have to change it up periodically, but that's wild, right? I love the dogs that I rescue, foster, and own more than most of my family. No, that is a sad reality of how things are, because as we recognize, just being part of a family doesn't automatically mean that they're going to be good to you or they're good people, as you recognize yourself. Yeah, exactly. The tribes never believed in land ownership. It's all propaganda. Actually, speaking of that, let me just I'll bring this up here. Because I'm constantly baffled here. So let me bring this one on. Okay, let me close that up. Ooh, I almost hit the close button there. That wouldn't have been good. All right, let me present. Share screen. There we go. So it's so funny though. I mean, the insanity. So I shared this on I shared it on the Facebook and the X profile, actually, my X profile. And as you can see, I think it's a great short little tweet. It says by Econ Bro. Says, apparently I was born owing a debt to people I've never met for services I never asked for by rulers I never agreed to. This is the civilized. And then basically it's the social contract is a myth, which, yes, of course, shout out. Well, can't shout out, but yeah, Lysander Spooner hundreds of years ago figured this stuff out, right? But apparently most Canadians having a real difficult time understanding or grasping that concept. But anyway, so I even wrote that the social contract is as real as Santa Claus. And one of the comments I received was, yes, you were also born on someone else's land. You didn't inherit the apartment your parents were renting any more than you inherited others' land, even though you were born on both. First of all, I'm not living in my parents' apartment. So, I mean, that right there is fucking stupid as fuck. And I mean, just think about, I will just say this. The propagandists kind of suck, which just goes to show you. I mean, if this is the best of what you got there, institute the propaganda to Montreal, like, holy fuck, who you got running your fucking social media propaganda pages? Because they're pretty fucking low IQ, pretty fucking stupid fucking people, to be perfectly honest with you. Because you're claiming that you don't know. This person obviously has no clue who the fuck I am. They have no clue where I live. They have no like they know none of this, not a thing about me or my property or what I own, right? But to pretend that somehow I am living on stolen land. I got news for you, dipshit, motherfucking retard. Every fucking plot of land on this planet we call Earth has been somehow, some way, in some point in time in history, claimed owned by some fucking ruling class. Tribes included. Matter of fact, before, modern states, most of us lived in what was all tribes. Yeah, white people too. Yeah. Irish, Scottish, right? Clans, tribes, potato. But to pretend, or to target someone like myself and try to, and for what? Anyways, let me just, rather than, let me just tell you my reply. I'll show you my reply. What I give here is, you are stupid beyond belief. And normally I don't like to insult, but like I say, I've tried to hold myself to a ridiculously high standard in my discourse and stuff. And it's like, fuck that. I did it for a while. I was doing pretty good, but most people just aren't worthy of it. Why would I? They're not going to fucking afford me the same respect, right? Of bringing actual, genuine, decent dialogue rather than fucking constant straw manning or misrepresenting reality entirely, right? Anyways, you're stupid beyond belief. The same kind of people who say garbage like this also believe property rights or borders shouldn't exist. Even a small child can comprehend the contradictions there. Your propaganda gets an F or fail. Feel free to chime in on more of my content to prove my point over and over. And I guess they will. So the fact that you live on land occupied by treaty and guaranteed under Section 25 and 35 of the Constitution, and the fact that the Canadian courts just gave part of Richmond, BC and Haida Gwaii back to the original owners mean nothing to your tiny brain. So think about what this fucking dipshit, right? What is he quoting? Treaty. Who drafted and implemented a treaty? Oh! You mean the same fucking crown status motherfucking dipshits that came over and supposedly did? Actually, some of them did legitimately cause genuine harm and steal people's land. Some of the people that already lived here, some of those First Nation people that you're claiming to care about so much, right? But the people that you're fucking, it's the government that did that, right? The people that you're against should be the government, the crown, the status. But what are you quoting here? The treaty, which was once again an agreement of status, who fuck with these people, right? That imposed that treaty basically on them, right? It's like, well, they agreed to it. Yeah, at the barrel of a gun, just like the people in Canada who agreed to get the vaccine, right? No, it's under the threat of coercion or losing your fucking job. So I'm sure a lot of these treaties were signed under the threat of even more coercion or even more destruction of their tribes, right? So it's like, come on, but this is, and guaranteed under Section 25 and 35 of the Constitution. Oh, who drafted the Constitution? Oh, that same Constitution that says, oh, you have all these rights, but yet Section 1 and 33 says we can deny them. But you're quoting the Constitution, which is, once again, another state-derived, statist-derived, government-derived, crown, parliamentary democracy-derived Constitution. like how fucking insane. Once again, how insane you got to be when you're typing this shit out. Because when I got to tell you, folks, when I'm typing stuff out, because I do think from first principle and have an understanding of ethics, if I'm typing stuff out and it just, I catch it. It was like, oh, Bennett, that doesn't seem like it. You better rethink that. Not here. Just continue on, right? Just continue on quoting fucking all this status shit while they're pretending to be against statism or the crown or colonialism. I mean, most people would even say that the Constitution, that's a colonial document, right? Yeah. But anyways, or a status document at the very least. And Richmond just gave part. And the Canadian courts, pretty sure those courts are all government courts, right? And I'm pretty sure all those judges get paid by the government by way of force, right? Forced redistribution of our wealth, our income, by AKA taxation, right? Economic enslavement. But yet this person's more than fucking willing to spew this kind of rhetoric. And Haida Gwaii, I don't know what the hell this means, but anyways, back to the original owner means nothing. And calling me a tiny, see, this is the part that's so fucking insane. And it's weird. And every one of us know, if there was some loser that could barely fucking stand up on his skates, insulting someone like Wayne Gretzky in his prime, saying, man, I'll kick your ass in a hockey game. Everyone would know to laugh vigorously at that person, at the pure insanity of that very premise. But yet this person, I don't know. Like I say, I just don't know. I don't know, but I hope they're at least getting paid for this fucking nonsense. Because if this person's doing this for free, like, holy fuck, man. Anyways, I'm not saying that property rights do not exist. I'm saying that they do exist. So this is see, once again, walking, talking. Anyways, okay, let me continue on. And that your whole libertarian argument is based on the premise of that property ownership is the cornerstone of liberty. It just happens that legally speaking, the land you occupy, legally speaking, see, this is the thing. Didn't even bring up morally or ethically speaking. No, legally. And who created and enforces the legal system in this country? Government. The very people that stole, they're people that were formed the very same coercive entity, but 150 years or 60 years ago, same thing. They're the ones that actually stole the land. I didn't do a cocksucking thing, and you know damn well I didn't. But yet, once again, anyways, the cornerstone. It just happens that legally speaking, the land you occupy under the property laws that you hold so dearly isn't yours. Well, I'll admit that the land that I occupy isn't really mine either. You know why? It wasn't because I stole it from anyone or inherited stolen land. No, it's because the government claims still, even after I bought and paid for my home, and I'm actually mortgage free, paid for all this shit, right? And I acknowledge all the statism shit, but that's the thing. The state, the very fucking same people that this guy is fucking trying to defend are the ones that impose a property tax coercively against me, which actually does make it genuinely so that I don't ever actually own my property. Nor when I die and pass it on, will my children ever actually own it, unless people just finally do stop fucking playing in this stupid game where they're arguing over which ruling class and their arbitrary edicts that they should abide by and obey. Anyways, let me continue on. And the irony is ignoring And the irony is that ignoring the property rights of Indigenous people directly affects your property rights, because if you can ignore it for your own self-interest, that creates a precedent for the next person that wants to ignore your property rights. Methinks the moron in this conversation is you. The guy with his head so far up his ass, he doesn't realize he's suffocating himself. Okay, so I mean, what? Like, once again, nothing of any substance. So, of course, my reply, you're regurgitating the talking points of the ruling class that have always been the ones infringing on people's rights. That's how it's so easy to tell you're a walking, talking contradiction. I'll take you serious the minute you accept the philosophy of liberty and reject the notion that any collective has the right to claim ownership over all lands. Crowns, tribes, or any other form of government are all antithetical to individual liberty. So if you care about these First Nation people, and I won't even feign interest that I don't wish any harm on anyone that hasn't done anything wrong to me, but it's not like I have these people in my mind all the fucking time, and this person doesn't either. They're just pretending, or unless they're being paid for, right? But my proposition, where we don't have any ruling class, is much better for all the people in our country, no matter what their skin color, no matter what their heritage, no matter what their religion, right? Individual liberty, because we're all individuals, is conducive and universally consistent in respecting all of our rights, our inherent and inalienable rights. Anything that has to do with government or the state or having any kind of rulers is antithetical to that. But this person don't give a shit. Because, it even says, come on, I don't even know why I wasted my time, but it was just that it was so easy. It's like, okay, I don't even have to put a whole lot of effort into it. So, yeah, whatever. They might actually learn something. Probably not. It's a propaganda outlet, for Christ's sake. Are they going to learn anything? Probably not. But hopefully at least this particular individual realized that, yeah, you can play the fucking stupid games all you want, but you'll realize that it only works on dumb people, right? Or people that you realize are easily propagandized. This shit don't work on me. It's like, I'm like Teflon when it comes to that kind of bullshit propaganda or rhetoric. It just bounces right off of me. It doesn't work, man. So I highly recommend, although if you want to waste your time on my Facebook page, I never stop a fool from being a fool, and I'll give you all the time you want, right? You do whatever you want, but I would definitely recommend, if you don't like specifically wasting your time, you move on to someone who might be more susceptible to falling for your bullshit. Oh, sorry, my background stopped there, folks. It must have stopped snowing here. No, just kidding. But anyways, so yeah, I'll bring this off the screen. I just, like I say, just stuff like this. I mean, I suppose it's kind of funny, and it is funny, but once again, it's not doing anything. Even this bantering back and forth, not doing anything. Well, I mean, I'm trying my best because I'm rather than arguing. Oh no, the Crown. No, man. The court says it says see, you didn't you didn't hear me use the excuse. Well, look, it says on my deed, that the government did have a part in all this shit. You don't hear me using any of that. No, why? Because I accept that I don't accept the legitimacy that the Crown or any Canadian government gets any authority or has any legal claim over ginormous swaths of land on the planet, right? But I don't believe, but that's the thing. See, I'm consistent, but I use that same logic for First Nations or tribes, like a different kind of ruling classes. They don't either. But this fucking person, because they're playing politics, they're not at the philosophical level. They don't understand how that works. These are low information. These are people who look for the dumbest, most naive among us. But that's the one thing I will say. And I've said this in past videos. Just be thankful that the current crop of ruling class and their fucking mindless minions and the propagandists are some of the most inept losers who've been so entitled they just don't put any real effort or work into it, right? That's the one good thing. At least most of the tyrants, the petty tyrants, the control freaks, the authoritarians in the past were much, much more competent, right? But these fuckers, I mean, they're what I consider the modern status and the progressives. I mean, as you see, there's no real the only time there's any actual violence is if they can have a situation where they can, in the physical space, gang up on you, like, the Emergencies Act, right? Where you can have 1,000 or more of nameless, badgeless thugs all dressed in riot gear against fucking just regular protesters that are completely unarmed and just protesting, right? Maybe the only thing they got is a cell phone they're trying to use to record. I mean, sure, under that situation, but as you know, these people, not just inept intellectually, but weak in the physical realm, which is why I don't worry about them in terms of that physical part. What I worry about it is they're convincing the lowest common denominator, the stupidest, the people who are even some who are intelligent, but they're like, I don't want to go against my tribe. I don't want to pop my head up. I don't want to be the crab in the bucket, right? They realize it works on them and it keeps them in the doldrums. And these people show up to vote, and they're stupid enough to keep maintaining the same insanity cycle over and over and over, right? The people all the boomers who showed up to fucking vote for the Liberals after everything that Trudeau did to this country in the what, 9 or 10 years. The fact that they chose to double down, I mean, like I say, these are either low information, very stupid, people, or they've been ideologically captured. And to be honest with you, none of them, like I say, none of them are a grave threat in the physical space, but they are a constant, ongoing threat. And just like that fucking nagging Karen, right? That fucking, and like I've said in the past too, for someone like myself, I would almost wish, and there's many days where it's like, if you give me the opportunity to defend myself, my family, and my freedoms and my liberties against, some tyrant and his gang of collectives, and they're marching on horseback in the physical space, or not horseback nowadays or whatever. But part of me would almost rather die in the heat of battle, or at least I have a chance rather than get into this constant rhetorical bullshit. Because there's one thing I will say that they're good at, just like why Hollywood and some arts and entertainment industries are filled with them, is they're good manipulators. They're professional liars. I mean, think about what an actor is at the end of the day. They're exceptionally good. The best actors are exceptionally good at pretending to be in something that they're not. Politicians, same fucking thing, which is why it's probably really easy for an actor to turn into a politician, Zelensky, or a politician to turn into an actor, or even Trump for that fucking matter, right? So there you go. Like I say, it's easy peasy to keep the dumb masses in line. But once again, for those of us who aren't part of that collective or that insane group, we have to come along for the ride. And I get that a lot of people are like having a really difficult time figuring out how do we get out from under this? Because we know men know how to battle against, an invading army or someone that's coming onto your property to take your shit. Whether you win or lose, there's no guarantee of that, but at least we know what's got to be done, right? You got to defend yourself in that physical space. But everyone's still trying to figure out how the fuck do we do it when it's not in your physical space, but it's in online or it's in discourse or if it's in conversation or rhetoric, right? How do you do that? Which is more aligned with the female side of things. Men are in a fucking weird position today. We're like, how do I battle women? Because that's the realm. Propaganda, fucking playing with your emotions, identity politics. That's all very, very effeminate type of behavior. And what it is they realize that the opponents of it still don't know what the fuck to do. Well, like I say, people like Molyneux, people like myself, we know what to do. And it does not require any physical violence or pretending that you're going to convince dumb fucking people to become smart people. That's never going to happen. But what you do have to do bare minimally, because once again, we all live in the real world. We can't all live online. So in the real world, you know who in your family, you know who in your community, you know which neighbors, you know which coworkers, you know who the statists are among you. And if you are still allowing them to have or play any role in your life, the very people who want to economically and socially enslave you and people like myself, if you're allowing them to do so unfettered, then you are part of the fucking problem. You have to bare minimally, and once again, take advantage of the opportunity, whether people want to listen or not. Start your conversation rather than no Pierre Poilievre or this or that. Instead of fucking playing politics, first thing you should out of your mouth is to someone that wants to talk about any of the shit. Do you know what it means to be a free human being? Tell me. Go use the Socratic method. Ask them, poke and prod them with questions. What do you believe it is to be a free human being? Do you believe in having rulers? Oh, no. Well, then just go from there. Go from there. Just like I say, take them through their own line of reasoning and logic. And just that alone, without you having to do a whole lot of arguing at all, allow them to get to that place themselves. Because the minute you're trying to tell them how to think, they're going to reject it. And a lot of them will do it anyways. Even if they could figure that shit out, they'll reject it because, but I want to remain. Yeah, but I don't want to rock the boat with my family. So these are, like I say, these are people who are willing to be trampled on for the sake of maintaining what they believe is peace. But there's nothing peaceful about the fact that their opponents or the people on the other side of things are constantly using the state, which is government and violence and theft, as the means to an end. There's nothing peaceful about that. What you're really doing is saying, just if I try my best, will you just don't beat me any harder? Will you not whip me any harder? Will you whip me at least 5 times less per week? That's all you're really appealing to these people. You're not appealing to anything that's going to get them to stop trying to impose their will through the power of the state. Anyways, yeah, I'll just bring this. Actually, I already did take that off the screen, didn't I? Anyways, let me see. I'll see if there's any more comments. Yeah, participation ribbons for everyone, and don't keep scoring kids' sports so no one gets the sad. Yeah. Well, that's foolish too, because once again, anyone that's ever became competent in any way knows darn well, you had to go through some points where it's like you had to hear some harsh realities, but that's not the end of the world. I mean, think about when people have gotten to the point, like how fucking much of an entitled mindset or world do you live in where you're like, oh, but I can't hurt anyone's feelings. Like, wow. So all the problems of the world have all been solved, and the only thing you have to worry about now is hurting someone's feelings. Like, once again, is that not that's a very, very, very effeminate way of thinking. And like people like Molyneux understand, yes, and understands intrinsically, and this is where you got to bring out the nuance. Once again, I'm definitely not against women. I love my wife. I love lots of women in my life that I love. my new granddaughter, right? Like, holy fuck. But what it is they need to be told. I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, basically, Molyneux recommend. Oh, women's, overbearingness and compassion and empathy. That's great for small children. Matter of fact, that's why that is part of them as a being, and it's very important. So to have that for small children in particular, and we're all graciously grateful for that fact. But you can't translate that and try to copy and paste or adopt that, where you impose that on full-grown adult men and treat full-grown adult men like fucking children. That devouring or smothering mother, there's the whole thing that Jordan Peterson talks about. I remember years ago, it took me a while to figure it out, and it took a lot of people, not just Jordan Peterson and Steph Molyneux, but a lot of other people to bring all this information to bear so that I understood. But it's the top 5 personality trait. When you're talking left versus right, what they're trying to do is pit women and men against each other. And like I said many times in the past, you can go back years, many, many, many years, where I said that is probably the stupidest fucking thing any ideologue could ever try to do, unless they're just, like I say, just people so miserable themselves that they don't care for the opposite sex at all, and maybe they just, are self-loathing and wish death upon themselves even. I don't know. Because to try to pit men and women against each other or create a binary where it's one or the other or a zero-sum game, the most heinous, vile, evil, despicable fucking thing you could ever do to the species is to do something so horrific to our cohesiveness, to what we can all do together. And I mean, like all of us, those of us that do have loved ones in our lives of the opposite sex, we realize how amazing it is when we both come together and bring each of our strong points together. That's what really makes us a solid unit, is when we bring our strong points together. But if we just think you can just pick one or the other, or divide or rip us apart in such a way, no, that just makes us horrifically weak beyond belief. And the evidence, exhibit A, is the real world that we live in. It's there. It's undeniable. The crazy rich leaders of the Comox band treat their poor like absolute shit on their overpriced Nikes. I've seen it. Well, that I'm not sure who this particular Comox band, but it sounds like a First Nation group. But yes, that's a reality. Like I say, the ruling class of any collective, it's a reality. No matter where you go, the bad people are going to rise to the top. If you create this thing where they can have power over others, like a band leader, a tribe, and they get to impose their will on people, that's probably the place the worst among us are going to gravitate to. That's just a fucking undeniable reality, which is why you just stop believing that anyone has any legitimate authority to rule over you. That's like I say, baseline information is just stop doing that. Just stop doing that. Just stop allowing people to convince you that they have any right or authority to rule over you. Bare minimally, right? But so it's not just this band. It's basically, once again, every form of government that has ever existed and exists today. Same shit, different pile. Past, but not what is to come. Canadians are being replaced fast. Natives or whites won't own shit. But hey, it's about the past and generational get. I hear you. And thanks for chiming in there, Christine. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I'm with you on that to a degree. But this is the thing. I don't even necessarily, natives or white. Well, that's shoot. No, I'm with you there. Canadians are being, this is the other thing, the great replacement. Like, to pretend, this is the insanity, the constant gaslighting. Because these, especially the so-called progressives or the boomers, right, who are constantly trying to bring in millions of people, everybody knows, left or right, and you'll even hear them all report on it. Once in a blue moon, you'll hear them report on the fact that, the population rate in all of our Western countries are below replacement levels. So if your domestic population, right? So once again, whether you're the First Nations people or the white, whatever people, right? But if you're having less kids that you need just to have at that replacement level, that means your population is going to continue to decline, right? If it continues at that rate. But if you import or allow to immigrate millions of people who come from countries who actually predominantly have very large families, right? I mean, I don't know. Especially, I mean, think about in Canada. I mean, a lot of the people that come here. I mean, nothing against like, you know, Indians or Pakistani people in particular at the individual level. Some of them at the individual level are great people, right? But let's just be honest. Oh, there's what? I think India has finally surpassed China as having the largest population in the world, which is what, like 1.6 billion people. So yeah, they have a lot of kids. And yeah, maybe a few generations down the road, they might get to the point, you know, when they're living the modern, where they might gradually decline that too once they're in there. But as it is currently, if they currently have 5 or 6 kids and they come here, mom and dad with their 5 or 6 kids, and on the opposite side of that is maybe one single mom, and well, I guess if you count the dad, it'd be somewhere else, and they had 1 kid. Well, you know, was it mom and dad 6 kids? So 8 versus 3. Keep doing that. That math eventually, right? It balances. The balance has changed drastically to the point where, yeah, it is. The great replacement is very real. But what it is they know it's real. So that's why they're so vehemently against that term. Because the one thing they understand is a term like that is how propaganda works. All you have to do is say the great replacement. See, they're so used to their propaganda working so well. And when they recognize, there's a propagandic term that our opponents might be able to use and that will resonate with a lot of people, we really got to target that. That's all it is at the end of the day. It's not like they can deny the reality, but they will try to use, you know, a guilt mechanism or convince you that the only reason why anyone would ever say that is because they're racist or I don't know, phobic of some sort, right? But it's a genuine reality. It's a fucking genuine reality. And if Canadians don't soon, at some point in time, start getting to the point where like, okay, let's move beyond the politics. Let's get our houses in fucking order. If that don't happen soon, there has to be a tipping point. I mean, if you look throughout history, every country, every nation, every empire has rose and collapsed. There will be a point. It's just a matter of when, not if. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's not written in stone that it has to happen now. We're actually in a space in the physical realm, and with all the things we have at our disposal, and the fact that even people like us, now I don't have much of an audience. I get that. Because once again, most people they've turned their back on me because they'd rather listen to politics. They'd rather get their fucking feed of clickbaity. They'd rather get their injection of fucking, what's that? Rage baiting, right? That's more important to them than actually listening to anybody or having real in-depth conversation about what it means to be a free human being and how the fuck we can get it from underneath of this mess, regardless of your political stripe or background, right? No problem. Yeah, no problem there, healer. I wish I could stay longer. Have a great day, sir. No problem. Thank you for joining the stream. And yeah, feel free to share this, maybe later on with some other people that might want to hear. But that's the other thing too. I kind of get this too, is a lot of you folks, here's another issue that I think is probably a reality for a lot of you folks, is because you are probably principled like myself, the ones who are at least watching the stream now, and you have probably kind of turned your backs on the status in your lives. Who are you going to share it to, right? Who can I share it to, Ben? I get that. Damn it, that's a tough one, right? That is a tough one. So I mean, listen, I understand from all angles how difficult this stuff is, but in my own life, the thing that I recognize that I still have the capacity to do is every chance I get, everywhere I go, anyone I meet, if I get the opportunity, I don't try to be overburdened. Like I say, something has to come up where it's like, okay, I can interject something here. I make it a point to bring up these kind of issues and try to bring it to the philosophical level, the conversations, right? Maybe use a little Socratic dialogue and questioning to try to entice them to start thinking more critically about things. But yeah, like I say, let me just say this. The kind of people who are watching my live stream today, none of you folks, I believe, are anywhere near at fault. The problem is this just me thinking out loud, and I'm sure you folks would probably agree with a lot of this, is something has got to change. How exactly do we get to reach out? I mean, you could, this is another option. I don't know. I mean, it is the holiday season. You could at least try. So let's say there's 10 status in your life that that you no longer have any relationship with whatsoever. I mean, you could try, run it through your old cranium, see which ones maybe out of that 10, is there potentially at least one or two? And it hasn't been long enough that if you presented an invitation in a courteous manner to actually, like, I get that we've had our differences in the past, right? I know I've said some things and you've said some things that were quite hurtful, but I'm willing to, put my own ego aside right now, if you are as well. And can we at least maybe sit down, maybe go out for, I don't know if you drink, I don't drink anymore, but a beer or maybe a coffee or maybe lunch, or, I don't know, go play a game or something, a sport game, or I'll do something, but just so that you have the opportunity to actively engage in genuine good faith dialogue and conversation about this stuff. That's something, like I say, because we can't just ignore the problems. It's not working. It's not going away. The status are still being status going to state, right? But there has to be other areas in our life where we can find some way to try to mend some fences, right? And I get how easy it is, and I still do it from time to time. But the insults, even what I was doing earlier. But as you see, there was a little bit, like, I called the person stupid that with the propaganda. I mean, come on, they weren't even a person. It says they're a propaganda outlet. So I was like, oh, but at least to leave a little bit in there where I offered some information that kind of aligns. That to me is kind of important, because it's kind of like a little bit of an olive branch. So I at least agree with this propaganda, Montreal propaganda. Yeah, of course the Crown doesn't get to claim ownership, or the government doesn't get to claim ownership over all the lands, right? Nor did they have any right or authority to do so. So I think that's the thing. Being ethically consistent, it doesn't guarantee anything, and I can't live in this person's headspace. But I'm thinking that you got to work pretty hard, right? When you hear actually irrefutable, non-contradictory, honest, forthright information that aligns with just genuinely promoting individual freedom, it's going to take a lot for them to try to reject that. Some of them, and a lot of them will, right? Whether it's for a paycheck or to align with their tribe. But internally in their mind, a lot of times their brain won't deceive them. They might superficially try to deceive us by pretending that they aren't learning anything, that maybe internally they are. And I don't know. Like I say, it's hard to figure out if that's going to work or not, but we just got to keep trying as best we can to do something. I see Mad Cat. What's going on, Mad Cat? Hey, fist bump. What's going on? Nice to see you in the chat, Mad Cat. Welcome. Oh, share on Facebook. Oh, thank you very much, Healer Hooter. Awesome. Appreciate it. Which, by the way, I will just mention this is is being live streamed to my X account, Facebook, and the YouTube. Actually, let me close this up. Maybe I should have shared on X. Yeah, because I forgot. Nobody gets a notification for some reason, or I don't know if they do. I just don't see it where I can, even when I set up a live stream, I don't even see where I can go on my X page and share it prior. So I just kind of do like things where I just type out a post, say, hey, I'm going live on here, right? But yeah, let me go to my profile and maybe just share. Since I'm live right now. All right. I'm live. But anyways, there are a bunch of articles that I just want to run through real quick. I won't go too crazy with things, but I just want to show you one thing in particular, especially for my fellow East Coasters, and just how deceptive the whole liberals and the media propagandists in this province are. Wow. Devious beyond belief. So, yeah, here we go. We bring this on. Sharing is Karen. Facebook, the Facebook. So here it is. So, anyways, let me give you a little background, a little context here. Try to summarize it fairly quickly. So when the Trudeau Liberals introduced a mandated federal carbon tax, right? Levy, tax, whatever you want. Same shit, never boil, potato. What it is they said, the way it was drafted, the legislation was, you either have to adopt our carbon tax, right? Or you can come up with your own, but you have to have a carbon tax. You don't get to not have a carbon tax. You have to have one. It's mandated that you have one, but you can come up with your own as long as you have one. So at the time, it was Blaine Higgs and the Conservatives, progressive Conservatives, which is an oxymoron if I ever heard of one, right? But who, rather than, I will say this: Blaine Higgs and his conservatism, didn't seem like they were big fans of the Trudeau Liberals, and that was the one good thing that I liked about Blaine Higgs, is he didn't get along with that particular collective or tribe, right? But he did implement New Brunswick's own form of the carbon tax instead of doing the federal one. So yes, we ended up with a carbon tax in New Brunswick. But once again, it was because he was mandated, coerced into doing it. And anyone who would, no matter whoever would have been charged at the time, would have had to do the same. But the way the media, and this is the fucking part that's so underhanded. So here's this Susan Holt. Let me make sure you folks, have I got this on the screen? Yeah. Anyway, so here's this Susan Holt, right? Who, when she was running to be the new ruling class in this province, said, I'll get rid of that carbon tax, and you could save up to between 8 and 10 cents. And New Brunswickers, I would imagine, even myself, though I didn't fucking vote for the bitch, but I mean, anyone would be like, yes, get rid of this fucking shit. Yes. So anyways, fast forward, Holt Liberals get in power, and nothing happened for a long time. Months go by, nothing. Then finally, just a few months ago, she's like, yeah, we're going to get rid of it, but not till December the 1st. We know how struggling New Brunswickers are doing. We know how hard things are. We know how terrible things are economically for them. But rather than do it now, I'm going to make you wait till December 1st, which is so stupid. Why? Well, if you care, why are you making us wait? Why not do it now? Do it now. No, but no. But she's going to do it December 1st. Don't worry, New Brunswickers. I'm going to reduce the price because I care. Bang. Yeah, I'm going to make sure the carbon levy is off, right? Well, here's how it actually genuinely played out. The media, so she gets to pretend that she's virtue signaling. So now she's, and the media is out there saying, while they're talking about Susan Holt's going to get rid of the carbon tax that was introduced by the prior Blaine Higgs conservative government. It's like, wait. Hey, wait a minute. I mean, technically that's true there, CBC, CTV, and all this bullshit, right? Technically, I guess, yes, the lawyers say, yeah, you can say that. That passes muster, right? Because there's a technical truth there. But the omission of the fact that the only reason why Blaine Higgs brought in the fucking tax in the first place was because the federal government, the Trudeau Liberals, who, yeah, Susan Holt and the Trudeau Liberals and the Liberals, yeah, two peas in the pod, right? They're very much aligned in their bullshit and their ideology, obviously, right? But yeah, to pretend that the media presented it as if it was Blaine Higgs. Oh, the bad conservatives. And once again, I'm all kinds of insults for the conservatives, but I'll save them for another time, right? But, Blaine Higgs brought in this carbon tax. Oh, here comes White Knight, whatever. Susan, she's going to come. Oh, she's going to help them poor, struggling New Brunswickers. Well, this is here how it actually played out. Oh, and by the way, I shared this because someone was sharing, what was it? Brian Lilly, I think it was, Corey Morgan from Western Standard out in, I believe, is it BC or Alberta? Anyways, shout out to Corey Morgan for at least having the audacity to have a publication and an outlet that does challenge or at least push back against. Now, I would admit Corey Morgan is probably not libertarian, probably very much just a conservative, and it's just left versus right. But at least they do try in some way to offer some kind of counter narrative, right? So I guess give them a little bit of that, right? But anyways, only by a tenth of a penny, but it's technically under $1 a liter. Haven't seen it there in a long time. So apparently out in Alberta now it's 99.9 cents. So I shared this. Now, the 145, it's actually higher now. It's actually higher now. Well, it's because we're December 1st. As you can see, this was November 28th. So it's actually quite a bit higher than that. But basically, Holt was going to do this thing, right? But meanwhile, it's like, then they announced that, you thought you were going to, that we were going to drop that 8 to 10 cents on your gas and diesel, did you? You know, the South Park. That's too bad. Oh, yeah, that's right, too. We control the price. But anyways, because, yeah, the prices are regulated. Like, I mean, I'm so much central planning in this whole fucking country, but in this province in particular is insane. But, yeah, pretending that they were going to drop that carbon levy, or tax, which was going to save New Brunswickers 8 to 10 cents. But it's like, no. But look at how it's being presented. New Brunswick Energy Regulator, not Holt. No, listen. Look at how CBC's doing this. Look at this. Pure propaganda, folks. New Brunswick Energy Regulator cancels Holt government fuel price cuts. I can't believe that energy regulator would do that to the whole government. The whole government was so desperately hoping to be able to save New Brunswickers money before Christmas while they're going out and doing their Christmas shopping for all their elbows up Canadian content products. And anyways, but it's so funny. Discount of up to 10 cents per liter were promised to consumers starting Monday. So it's like the way the narrative is it was Holt and her government. They're the good people, but it's just them damn New Brunswick energy regulators. Wait a minute. Who's in charge of the energy regulators? Who legislates what the energy regulator can do in this? All right, the whole government. And by the way, that reality is always like I say, I know CBC, I know the personalities, I know their game so well. I've watched it for so many years. I know it. And all I have to do, and you folks know this, I just know. Just got to scroll down there and there'll be a little tidbit of truth that'll be contained there, but it'll be so far down, and they realize that most people don't get that far. They just see this shit or the rhetoric that the people, even if they read it, the way the rhetoric will be espoused, and the takeaway will be, Holt tried her best, right? But no, like I say, here it is. This is in the same article, by the way. You just got to scroll down quite a bit into it. But as you see, however, in eliminating the charge to consumers, the government made no changes in legislation to prevent those same refinery environmental costs being passed through the retailers. The prospect of $84 million in costs suddenly falling on that group led the board to intervene. The void left by the coming into force of the repealing statute is a relevant consideration because wholesalers and retailers will bear the cost of compliance, the board ruled. In a hearing held on the issue Thursday, Irvine Oil lawyer James McDuff said the whole government was not clear in the legislation about what it wanted done with the cost the adjusters currently covers. The legislation repealing the charge did not mandate oil companies pay the expense, instead of ban consumers from being charged from them in another way. So basically what this is saying is it was a complete sleight of hand. It was at one side of her fucking ridiculous mouth was, I'm trying to save New Brunswickers, but I'm not going to do anything to actually make that a reality. You left the legend. So all they did was at, 12:01. So from November 30th to at midnight, at 12:01 on the 1st, they got rid of that carbon tax and replaced it with another carbon tax. It was basically the same thing. So nothing changed. New Brunswickers still paying the same prices, and it'll continue to go up like it has been for months. And like I've been saying for a long time. And I don't know, like I say, how the hell do New Brunswickers allow this to, like I say, because most of them are so low information. Now, just think about it, New Brunswickers, regardless of their political stripe. Imagine if, I don't know, was there 800,000, whatever many people are in this province. Imagine if at least a sizable portion of them had access to what I'm pointing out right here, right now. At least be a little bit better educated and informed, realize, she fucking duped me. But most of them who get their news in, because, New Brunswick is a very aged province, and a lot of the people in this province are old people who they just sit and watch CBC and CTV and think that everything they hear on there is the gospel. They're believing this nonsense, which is what's allowing them to continue to support this bullshit and to keep the poor people, right, or the people at the lower end of that economic spectrum in the dungeons continually and ever increasingly getting worse. So yeah, there's that, folks. So yeah, there's that. But I just found that to be just unbelievably manipulative, obviously very underhanded, and I think kind of a little bit evil. A little bit evil, to be honest with you, because I would actually much rather, someone that actually, genuinely wanted to help people, like, you would just be honest about things. But the fact that you didn't do the one thing that was needed and necessary to actually bring relief to New Brunswickers at the pumps, that tells me that, come on. What are you going to pretend? You don't know that? Oh, did I do that? Like, come on. Come on. Come in. But no, it's just crazy. But yeah, there's more. There's more. Lots more. Yeah, we'll save that one maybe for a little later. I did want to bring this up because this is actually out of CTV. But it's like, yes, I get it. But see how it does not work? Stop sharing. Okay. CTV, the first one is influencers. Okay, so there's this, folks. Where'd it go? There we go. So this is the thing, and part of me thinks, yeah, it's kind of good, but not really. Not really. Because like I said, most of these influencers are just playing politics. That's what they're doing. Where are we at here? So influencers have more reach on 5 major platforms than news media and politicians report. So this by the Canadian Press. More than 2/3 of younger Canadians engage with political content from influencers, and influencers has significantly more reach on 5 major social media platforms than news media outlets or politicians, a new study indicates. A significant portion of the political content Canadians see on the major platforms comes directly from influencers, says the report from the McGill University and University of Toronto-led Media Ecosystem Observatory. So right there, let me just get what they are. So the report focused on posts from individuals and institutions on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Blue Sky. It did not look at or compare reach on websites, other online platforms. So think about it. So even the establishment media and politicians are admitting in this space where we are right now, we have more influence over things than the we are. I use that word we, so I'll get to the nuance in a second. But social media influencers are getting more eyeballs and attention than all these establishment media outlets and the politicians, the pundit class too, right? So what that tells you is if the right influencers, I should say the correct, not right in terms of right or left, but the correct influencers were the ones who had the most prominent voices, were actually the ones that got to say what they had to say, and their voices were being heard by the majority of younger Canadians or people who are paying attention to people on social media outlets. Think about how much further we would be ahead right now in terms of getting Canadians on board with rejecting the religion of statism, collectivism, and forced subjugation. And at least bare minimally learning what it is to be a free human being and how best to raise your children and influence people in your community and your family so that we can live peacefully, harmoniously, and have genuine prosperity among us. That it tells me that we've achieved success. And in America, it's the same thing. In both of our countries, we've actually achieved, and like I say we loosely because I haven't, but social media influencers as a whole, right? Which that word I know doesn't mean a whole lot, but all the collective, right? But there's the potential for, like I say, for the social media influencers to now have an outsized effect on how people think about things in this country. It is a reality now. It has come to be a reality, and part of me just wants to rejoice, except then I look out there and recognize there on that big social media landscape is all those, the most prominent voices are all, and this basically acknowledges it, are just people who are playing politics. Red versus blue, Pierre versus Carney, right? Or America versus Canada, elbows up. Like, it's, and this is the part that's so infuriating, is because it doesn't have to be this way. Like I say, the fact that we've all at least got to that point where the potential is there now. We live in the time and the era where the people are hungry for this kind of information, but there's so many gatekeepers. There's so much suppression. There's so much of the crabs in the bucket, tall poppy syndrome, egotism, 15 minutes of fame, glory hounds. There's so much of that that's taking place that even though that is a reality, it's still not doing anything to actually pivot us away from collectivism, statism, and forced subjugation. Still stuck in it just as deep as we were when it was the established media and the established politicians were dominating all the airwaves and all the spaces to get information out to people, right? So, I mean, like that's just evidence. It's just, once again, I'm an evidence-based person. That is evidence once again. Anyways, I'll just knock this off here. I'll probably, I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably link all these articles rather than close them up. I'll probably just leak these so that they're in the description of the live stream afterwards, so you'll have access to them. If you want to read them in their entirety, go ahead and do so. But I mean, that alone, right? That tells you that it doesn't look like, under the current crops of people who are educating and informed Canadians, it doesn't look like they have any intention or even goal, as far as I'm concerned, of actually trying to educate and inform their fellow citizens to the point where they're thinking critically and from first principles, or at least understanding, how the world actually works, right? Rather than believing in this mystical realm or this mystical entity in the state. Okay. Just going to read another comment here. Madcat 2713. Our tyrants brought in migrants from all over the world, and many are in conflict with one another, which also puts Canada in the red zone for chaos, not to mention the cultural shock within. Yeah, I know. And a lot of them are not being vetted. Actually, let me, now that you brought that up, Madcat, there is something, let me see if I can find. There was something that had something to do with, yeah. Where did that go? Well, I'll just bring you out. There's a couple of them here. Oh, here we go. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, the wife's mother was down for a visit. It was a nice visit, great visit. Come down to visit, and when we were taking her back to the airport when she was leaving to go home, it's so funny because we had just barely walked into, I guess the departure side of the thing at the Fredericton Airport there. And who was the first person? I mean, it wasn't very busy. It was really early in the morning. But who was the very first person I run into? And I recognized him immediately. And I said hi to him. I didn't want to take any much of his time. So I basically just said, hi, hey, Brian Lilly, how are you doing? Shook his hand and just kept going. But yeah, to my surprise and shock, in a little old airport in New Brunswick, I'm not sure exactly. He was obviously covering some kind of a story here in New Brunswick, But yeah, I saw Brian Lilly, so I don't know if he ever gets a chance to see this. That was nice to meet you in person there, even if it was just a quick handshake. Because I will just say this, Brian Lilly, once again, even though he would probably identify as a conservative himself, is at least someone who is a counter to the narrative. But I would even recommend people like Brian Lilly, like I say, but that's the thing, they do journalism. So can I really get mad at someone that does journalism, right? And that's kind of their thing, for not doing philosophy? No, because that's kind of probably not his wheelhouse. But there are people out there who can, or at least function from that philosophical level where their livelihood doesn't depend on just doing journalism, right? But anyways, like I say, shout out to Brian Lilly. It was nice to meet you there. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah. Look at this. So this is actually from the Toronto Sun, which actually is an outlet that Brian Lilly does contribute to. No data. Where'd that go? There we go. No data on criminals granted citizenship. The federal government is failing in one of its primary responsibilities with regard to immigration, keeping Canadians safe. It's a perfect example why many, there's Brian Lilly there, look at that. It's a perfect example why many Canadians have little faith in the federal government's ability to keep them safe. It started with an order paper questioned by conservative immigration critic Michelle Rampell Garner. She asked the Liberal government and Prime Minister Mark Carney in September how often Canadian citizenship is granted or denied to those with criminal records. The response was that the government has no idea, in an answer that was a word salad of non-information. To wit, due to data limitations, the department is unable to report on the number of applications for which an applicant has a criminal record that was received, approved, denied, received, but still awaiting a decision, nor is the department able to provide a breakdown by type of crime, which the department determined was severe enough to deny citizenship and not severe enough to deny citizenship. That number appears to be in the thousands, given that between January 2019 and this past August, 2,530 applications were rejected under Section 22 of the Citizenship Act. So they don't even keep track. And that would be, even if you're talking about the legal immigration, think about the fucking asylum seekers who are probably still pouring across the border, right? But I mean, that alone, the fact that they don't even keep track of that stuff, I mean, that alone should tell you something, right? Anyways, like I said, I'm not going to waste too much time on each one of these because I do have a bunch of them out here. But there was a few other things that was pertain to immigration, and I'm just going to bring each one of them up. So this one here, CTV, immigration minister, okay. Immigration minister. There we go. So here's another one. And like I say, this is just stuff that's been on my background for a while. This was from November 13th. So what, a few weeks? Never mind the 14 years of this kind of, even worse than this kind of insanity that I've been talking about. Anyways, but once again, immigration minister reiterates threat to cut social assistance for asylum seekers. Wait a minute. Wait, what? So asylum seekers get social assistance? So not only am I forced to pay for the fucking parasites, and I get there are some people that genuinely need help, but people that genuinely need help should have some people in their fucking lives that can do that voluntarily. Stop forcing, other people or the unborn or the working poor to have to constantly heavily subsidize others, because that's the other thing too. They're not even genuine asylum seekers. As we know, these are economic migrants, and a lot of them are just like, who's got the best, entitlements or these programs where I can be parasites on the productive people in these countries. We know this is a fact, but to suggest who he's going to threaten to cut them off, well, that tells me that they're paying, or we're paying, they're forcing us to pay for the social assistance of some of these people are fucking vile, and most of them, or many of them, are not deserving. And even if they're deserving, it's coming by way of force and coercion and rampant redistribution from others, which is so immoral that the pretense of being benevolent falls short entirely, or fails entirely. So anyways, like that, there's that one. Then I'll bring up another one here. Where does it go? There's just one more. Where did that go? Oh, here it is. Yeah. So this one is Juno News. Let me bring it on here. And it's like, I would have reworded a little bit better than that, to be honest with you, Clayton Domain of True North, to reflect the more honest aspect of how this thing works, right? But I will say, shout out to Juno News. Once again, they're at least trying to push back against some of the loony left stuff. Although I just don't have a whole lot of faith that, like I say, once they get the conservative tribe or collective in power, that things are going to be any better. Like I said, I've lived in this country under both. Neither side do I have any faith in whatsoever, or suspect that Canadians are going to be any freer, right? At the level that it's actually important, regardless of which establishment party's in power. But anyways, so here, exclusive. Liberals dished out $7.1 billion on child supports for non-citizens. Well, first of all, the honest way to type that out would have been Liberals forced Canadians or the unborn, depending on how like, do you think it's going to get paid off soon, or is it going to be the future generations? Which, yeah, I think it would be more aptly or more honest to say it. Liberals are forcing, future Canadians and the unborn to dish out $7.1 billion on child supports for non-citizens. Because that would be, once again, much more reflective of the actual reality of things. The Liberal government has revealed that it spent over $7.1 billion in taxpayer dollars on child care for non-permanent residents and other non-citizens over the last 9 years. So once again, I'm not going to waste too much time on that, but right? And that's just 3 articles that just goes back a few weeks. I'm going to read a few more of your comments. A few more of the comments. Deny and don't comply. Yeah, that sounds good. I don't like complying with tyrants. Then there's the drug epidemic. Oh yeah. Everyone's got it. That's the thing. The drug epidemic is literally proof positive that it's profoundly difficult to be well adjusted in an insanely sick society. Because the drug epidemic isn't just the fentanyl and all the other fucking insane shit. It's all the people who are on these, MMRIs or SSRIs, or whatever the fuck they are, but or drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, right? Or whatever it is, whatever your distractor of choice is, whatever thing that you can put your mindset in, or where you just don't have to think about reality, because that is something that seems to really, really be a dominant thing for a lot of Canadians. The internet is the new media weapon, so the psychological war is now amplified. Truth will be mashed with the lies through all these influence platforms. It's going to take discernment to not be fooled. True that, Mad Cat. But here's another thing, like another perfect example is, I'm just going to say it, and I know, listen, I even know before I even say it, oh, you're just making your own situation worse, manners, whatever. They can't really get any worse, so I don't fucking care. But anyways, just a perfect example here today is, let me just bring it up. What do we got here? Mad Cat, Healer, and Christine. 3 people. 3 people. I haven't done a live stream in a while. I did. I was hesitant because it's like, man, oh man, what's going to happen, Bennett. Nobody. And I like I say, I love you folks who do, but once again, it's I don't necessarily feel like a need or desire that I always got to function in an echo chamber, because I don't know. Some days it makes me feel a little weird to do that, right? Because I'm goal oriented, and I'm evidence based, and I'd rather, to be honest with you, I'd much rather us just be hanging out in person, doing an actual activity, rather than talking about stuff that we're all for the most part. Because like Healer and these folks, like the 2 others there, Christine and Mad Cat, you folks already know all this shit. So it's not like I'm telling you guys anything new. But I once again, I'm genuinely very appreciative that you folks do watch my content, because it'd probably be even a little strange. I just wouldn't do it if there wasn't anybody there. But I even had a little bit of hope. Well, it's been quite a while, Bennett, since you've actually done your own live stream. I did have a live stream with John Paul Berg. Shout out to John Paul. it was good. I was on his show, Dumb the Wiser. That's pretty funny. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've done my own standalone live stream. And I thought, well, maybe because I've been out of sight, out of mind, maybe people, that's why I even put out on my my Facebook page to see if there's any interest. I think it was the first time I ever did it. And I don't know if it actually worked. Didn't look like it. But I even tried doing that at everyone so that everyone on my Facebook page, because apparently I have 4,500 followers. But I have 4,500 followers on my Facebook page. I put out a post saying, are you guys interested in me doing a live stream? I got a few answers. It was like, out of the 4,500 people there and however many thousands follow me on X, and you got, well, I mean, let me look here. I'm up to 18 people watching right now on that. What is that? Which one is that one? Facebook? No, that might be YouTube. Well, 18 of one and 3 of the other. So 21 in total. But like I say, out of, I don't know, even if you just go by like just the Facebook ones alone, and actually was that, although there might be a lot of duplicity. So let's just use the highest number, Facebook, 4,500. So out of 4,500 people, I got like 21 people. And it's the same 20 or 21 people that are, God bless y'all, like I say, and love you guys for what you do and the fact that you keep coming back time and time again. But you're the only one. So it's like, it puts me in a weird position where it's like, do you keep doing this stuff? Because and that's the other thing. And maybe it's meant to be this way, to discourage me, right? To discourage me, like, how more persistent can this guy be? I mean, holy crap, 14 years. And I even surprised myself at times, like, how in the hell have I managed to maintain the willingness or the audacity to even bother trying anymore? Right? Even sometimes I question my own sanity. Like, why? Like, you're just talking to the same people over and over again. And like, it's a very, very small amount of people. And then I think, well, maybe it's just because everyone, I've even said in the past, well, listen, a lot of times I do my live streams, it's in the middle of the day. And if it's on a weekday, these people are working. They're busy people. They're the people that actually work for a living. Right. So like, that's why they're not watching. So no, I'll give it a day or two. And then when they get home after supper or whatever, they'll get a chance to look at it. Right. No, I could go back, weeks later and be like, less than 200 views. So I was like, holy shit. That's, and once again, it's probably that same couple hundred people that God love you, God rest your souls, or God love you, I should say. But for being just great people overall, and I'm sure you're the people. Well, I know you're the kind of people that I have great admiration and respect for. But at the end of the day, as you know, it's still we're just just one pebble of sand on a ginormous beach, and it's like, it does get a little rough at times. But anyways, forget about that. Here I am going into my own struggle session, right? Let's see if there's any more. Okay. Glad I caught your live, brother. It looks like you're getting snow. Oh, that's just we are actually getting snow. Actually, it's funny you say that, because actually I am getting snow. If I look out the actual window, that's a real window right here. Yes, we are actually getting snow. The stuff behind me, that's a TV screen, and I'm using a thing that where they have like a superimposed a window into your screen there. But actually, it's funny though, because it is a real thing. We're snowing. I wish the background looked like that. That would be really, really cool. If my actual, although I will admit I have a nice backyard, but no, it's not water and mountains like that. I do have the trees. I definitely have the trees, but a little different look in my backyard than this one on the screen. But yeah, we are getting some snow. Actually, I will just mention, since you brought that up, is I'm kind of actually looking forward to the snow this year. No, normally I don't, but this year I got myself a snowmobile, so might actually be able to have a little fun out in the snow. It's been a while. It's been a long time. But my youngest son, he bought one there a couple of years ago, and I was a little hesitant to try to get back into that stuff, but the right deal came along, the right machine at the right price, and I was in at least a decent enough position to be able to do so. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's pull the trigger. And so, yeah, this year, weirdly enough, I'm once again back to actually wanting snow. which for quite a few years there wasn't such a big fan. Well, especially I do want snow, but there's other times where maybe not so much. But anyways, let me just move on beyond that. Yeah, keep on kicking the door. Eventually, the door will fall down. Yeah. Okay. So, what else did we have here that I wanted to cover? Well, I'll just actually, I won't even bring these up. I'll just say so. This one, a headline out of the Toronto Sun. Like I say, just blast through these quickly. Cost of Ottawa's bloated bureaucracy grew by 80% since 2015. Canada spent $71.4 billion in personnel costs in the 2024-2025 fiscal year compared to $39.6 billion a decade ago. So yeah, more and more. Just it's like a never-ending amount of pigs at the trough in this country. You know, the kind of people, once again, when you talk about bureaucracy and government, these are people whose paychecks come directly from forced income and wealth redistribution or the economic enslavement of future and successive generations. And it's grown by 80% in 10 years. Wow, right? Meanwhile, you know, the average mom and pop business owner or small business owner, yeah, could you imagine if you could, you never have that kind of potential because you can't force or offload all your costs or obligations or debts or expenditure. You can't do all that. You don't get to use force as a mean to an end. Government does though, and those who work for government, they live in an alternative universe, and they don't actually have to deal with an actual economic reality that you and I have to deal with. And of course, another one there, Canada's inflation crisis is built in Ottawa, not imported. Because yeah, they're trying. Trump's everyone's favorite scapegoat. And their go-to guy to blame for everything, all the other society. But reality, anyone that's got any fucking brains or been paying attention is Trump is just the symptom of all the problems. Trump coming to power is a direct symptom of all the bullshit that's happened in the past. And even myself, I'm seeing he's doing some things that I will agree, and he's being successful in some areas, but he's in government now, so he's in bed with some fucking. I mean, I won't even get into this stuff because I know you guys are predominantly concerned about Canadian stuff. But Trump going after Thomas Massey, one of the great libertarians, one of the very few libertarians in Congress, one of the most principled guys in Congress in the United States. The fact that he's going after him and like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And once again, there's lots I could disagree with that one on stuff, but I mean, it's just unreal. But the people he's kind of siding with right now is just so cringy too. Like Lindsey fucking Graham. What's next? You're gonna bring back fucking Bolton? Come on, Trump, man. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? But anyways, like, yeah. But at the very least, like in the this is the Winnipeg Sun. Yeah, stop blaming fucking Trump or the Americans for our home built problems. No, they were built here in Canada. You know, brought to you by, pick your government of choice, right? And how hilarious is this? I got a big kick out of this one. Canadian military will rely on an army of public servants to boost its ranks by 300,000. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, the fuck public servants are going to be you think the military sucks now? But you're going to fucking try to bring a bunch of fucking, think about like the typical public service. Well, you're going to bring in your service fucking, I don't know, like here it's called Service New Brunswick, like your motor vehicle register. No, but think about the people who want to do the least amount of work possible and get paid the most, right? That's who represents the public servant. And I mean, such a misnomer to use the fact they don't serve nobody except themselves. They serve themselves with your money. They serve themselves to stealing from you to greatly enrich themselves, right? That's the only thing they serve is themselves and the rulers. But they're going to rely on an army of fucking to boost the ranks by 3. Like, what does that even fucking mean? Are they going to be joining the alphabet, fucking the trannies and the fucking LGBTs and all the victim cult type people? Because yeah, if you think about who they're trying to promote into the military or recruit in the military these days, are all self-loathing, weak, inept for the most part, losers. Who they themselves will call themselves victims, which means you're the fucking loser. You call it victim, but kind of puts you on the losing end of things if you're the victim, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Well, yeah. But yeah, that's what the Canadian military that's already been demoralized to the point of like just absurdity. Ask Jeremy McKenzie about that. And I don't even know about that guy. That's the other thing, too, is like there's so much division in there. People calling him a Fed. I don't fucking know if he's a Fed or not. Be honest with you, I don't really care because once again, none of them are talking about anything of any fucking substance of importance. They're just feeding red meat to the base. But even like Jeremy McKenzie has pointed out, and I believe him when he talks about he was in the belly of the beast, right? How demoralized I would imagine, because I can see how that's the case, how demoralized you would be if you're a real man who wants to at least pretend that you're defending the freedoms, right, of Canadians. That's your thing. That's your shtick. But it's like, but then they're bringing in all these people who are just, like I say, the victim cult mindset types, or the entitled class, or the parasitical types. Well, I guess I kind of repeat myself when you talk about people going to the military, because, newsflash for every single person, good, bad, even the libertarians. I don't know how you could call yourself a libertarian if you're in the military, if you're working for the state, but people who think that they're liberty-loving individuals or freedom lovers and defenders of Canadians. I'm just here to tell you, and I know I'm pretty sure none of you folks would ever watch my content because you fucking hate having the mirror held up in front of you. You want to hold it up in front of everyone else. That's the fucking thing about all these fucking politicians or these political types. They love to hold the mirror up to anyone that they disagree with, but they're scared to fucking death to ever turn that cocksucker around, maybe look in it once in a while. Because, don't fucking pretend that you give a fuck about defending the freedoms of Canadians. What is the whole point of being trained in the military? To use violence? The military is all about violence. That's what the military does. Violence. An army, right? Be different if you're talking about a Peace Corps or something where they're just, but now militaries and armies are all about violence. That's kind of the bread and butter, right? And yet, this country's been basically taken over by people who are much fucking worse than some of the tyrants in foreign countries, and way, way worse of a threat than us, than someone way across some fucking thousands of miles across the ocean somewhere, right? The fucking ruling class, the parasitic class, the central bankers, right? The crony corporations, all these people that the bureaucracy, they're all, the COVID cult who locked everyone down, took away their livelihoods, shut down their businesses, locked them in their fucking homes, basically, or forced people to stay in the home, mandated, coerced vaccines, all of that, and then some. And yet you fuckers never lifted a finger to do anything. Not a thing. So stop pretending. And what are you fearful of? There might be reprisal. There might be consequences. Isn't that, if you go to a foreign country, you have the chance of being shot, taken prisoner, right? Now, held captive indefinitely. All that's a potential when you go to a foreign country to supposedly fight for their freedoms. Well, the same potential threats to your life and your freedoms exist if you fight for the freedoms of the Canadians that you pretend to care about, but you won't fucking lift a finger to do that. Won't do one fucking thing except fuck off. Fuck right the fuck off with your fake nonsense bull fucking shit. And that's the thing. I don't like to say that to these kind of people because I actually recognize that, they never go against the government, but maybe have a few of them ever heard me fucking insult them for being a bunch of fucking mindless statists, right? And not ever live. They'd probably get pissed off at someone like me because I'd be an easy target because I'm just a fucking civilian lowly nobody. They'd fuck with me. You better believe that. I'll put that fucking better. I'll kick your ass, shoot you. But you wouldn't fucking go against fucking any part of the apparatus of the state. That's right, too. They still sign your fucking paychecks. You retired? They still sign your pensions, right? Right? And the fact that you cocksuckers get to sit on your fucking duffs and bitch and complain and whip up political fervor and hatred and all this fuck. You can do it while you're sitting on that big, gigantic money fucking pile and entitlements. And I see, oh, but we got to help the vets. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. I go to fucking Oromok, though, as in the place that I work, and I see nonstop, like, you motherfuckers got more fucking cars. You have to, as a person who works for a paving company, we have to keep it coming out and extending your driveways and cutting off portions of your lawn because, oh yeah, sure, I got enough room to put my 3 fucking cars and my boat in there. But where am I going to put my 40-foot travel trailer? Oh, I need to fucking extend my parking lot now, or I mean my driveway. And I see it constantly. Oh, but we got to help the vets, man. Fuck off. You're all just a bunch of entitled. Now, like I said, I'm not saying there aren't the rare exception and outliers, but for the most part, you're just more parasites. You're just more pigs at the fucking trough. And even though you're still getting enriched by the state with your pensions or your paychecks, you want to even get more than that by taking all the fucking, hey, listen, if people choose to watch your content over mine, I'm not saying you're taking it like by force. They're stupid enough, obviously, to fucking follow your fucking shit. But it's not just what it is you're better at appealing to their anger part where it's like they're hate watching and shit. Yeah, I get it. That might be fun. But once again, you're doing absolutely fucking nothing to help our goddamn situation. And by playing all this games, like going here and getting photo ops of standing there with your fucking face coverings, you're just the fucking opposing version of the COVIDiots or the fucking idiots in Ottawa too that were all covering their faces because they were fucking scared to death of showing themselves because they were about to do some terrible fucking things to some good, decent fucking Canadians who were just protesting and standing up for the goddamn inherent rights and freedoms. Oh yeah, listen, don't even get me on a kick on that. I could do probably a fucking 3-hour podcast without even barely taking a fucking breath or a break just on the insanity of these people who claim to be freedom fighters in this country. Make me fucking sick. Hey, walk the walk. I might believe you. Till then, you're just another chirping class of statists who, once again, fuck, at least your opponents admit kind of some way who they are and are even a little bit proud of it. I actually, there's some times where I think, fuck, at least the liberals will, like, they at least they know that, and they're willing to even admit it. You guys are the one, you guys pretend so much to be the ones that are on the side of liberty and freedom. And at least they don't, when the liberals are trying to squash or quell freedom of speech, it's like, well, at least they're admitting that they want to impose tyranny. When Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, that little piece of shit wimpy motherfucking, like I say, as a man, like that guy is like so like, holy fuck, he's pathetic, but beyond belief pathetic with his crossing his legs and his fucking stupid ass socks and like just so effeminate type of fucking way he carries himself and his air about him. But at least he had the courage of his convictions to look up against all you people and put his enforcers up against all you people. And they won. And they won. They won. And when those protesters, those peaceful protesters, were being beat down, having their RVs broken into or taken away from them, their trucks seized or their bank accounts frozen or put in jail, with all those, however many of those mindless order followers with no badge, right? No names, no badge, right? Under the guise of anonymity, fucking with the Canadian people, just peaceful protesters. Where were you guys? I didn't see it. But you'll go across the ocean. But you'll go across the ocean and then you'll come back from these foreign lands and claim how fucking amazingly awesome and brave and I just, we were going against this person. Oh man, you should have saw this group of, and then this person got killed and then we killed them people. Nothing at home. Just quiet. Just crickets. Nothing. Anyways, yeah, like I say, I could rant on a long time for that stuff, but I don't want to get the haters too fucking worked up. These today. Like I say, they just give them some other reason for them to fucking rage bait or hate on just another fucking person that, I'm the bad person. Well, I'm the bad person. While they collect their big cushy fucking pensions, right? Right. I've had to do all this. I've worked in the private sector my whole life. Never been a statist, never will be. And I'm proud of it. I'm fucking proud of it. That puts me so far ahead and above and beyond most of the fucking people who claim to be the freedom fighter in this country. And I'm not ashamed to say it. Not in the slightest. It's a reality. It's a fucking reality. Let me see. Sorry, folks. I know a little bit of a tirade there, but hey, it happens from time to time. It happens from time to time. Oh, and this is just another one, National Post. So just from last year, the size of the federal bureaucracy jumped 9% last year. So just in last year, the new public accounts disclosure tabled recently in the House of Commons show that Ottawa added 99,000 additional public servants. So 100 fucking, and then, hey, anyways, like I say, why am I even bothered? Of course, the bureaucracy's growing. Nobody cares. And this is another thing, actually. It's so weird. No, actually, let me go with something. Oh, about this griping. Like, this is how insane the Elbows Up crowd is, too. So even CBC had to report back in the day. Well, this was on November 26th, actually, not that long ago. F-35 beat Gripen fighter jet by a mile in 2021 Defense Department competition. Data obtained by Radio Canada shows Lockheed Martin jet was a clear win. But yeah, all the Elbows Up people, all the dumbed down fucking retarded ass fucking Canadians who fall for that bullshit, the same COVID cult retards, are like, oh, well, we want to choose. And some of these idiot personalities on X are just fucking profusely retarded. And I can't believe anyone agrees with them or follows these people. I just can't. But hey, anyways, but they would rather bite off their nose despite their face. They would rather take a much inferior fighter jet that's made by someone that doesn't have anything to do with Trump or America. And even though in air-to-air combat, they're going to get their fucking soldier or their I guess you'd be in what, the Navy, whatever the fuck, anyways, the pilots, Air Force, I guess. They're going to get their own fucking people killed so they can virtue signal their hatred or their severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. The level, like I say, the level of fucking insanity in this country is just, it's almost mind blowing. What else do we got here? Yeah, here's another one. CTV News. This was November 26th as well. Tens of thousands of Canadians died waiting for medical care in the past year. Oh, wait, but free health care, but it's free. And no, like fucking free. Like, to be an adult and believe in anything like health care, like the doctor, like fuck, even kids learn that Santa Claus isn't real and the Easter Bunny. Even a kid grows at some point in time to realize that no, it was all bullshit. But all these fucking dumb Canadians keep going on about, but my free healthcare. Oh, the Americans, they go bankrupt. The only fucking people that would go bankrupt in the United States for medical things are the most reckless, irresponsible dipshits who never even took any time to figure out, maybe I should have health insurance. Or if I'm going to decide not to have health insurance, then I should greatly reduce any potential risk for me and live almost like a fucking hermit. But if you want to live any kind of a life and you care about your health and having some kind of a safety net, so if you ever are put in a position where you need medical help, yeah, of course you should have fucking insurance. And anyone would fucking know that if you weren't fucking insane. But no, my government, I'm just going to give it to government. How's your accountant working out? How do you keep your government to account when, because you know what, if you get your insurance through a private company, not only can you choose to shop around for a different one, but you can also withdraw entirely from them. It's not a coerced or forced contract. Government, it's completely coerced and forced. So is there any accountability? Of course there's no accountability, but my socialized healthcare. Well, enjoy dying by the tens of thousands while you're waiting for that socialized healthcare. What else do we got here? Oh, just one last thing before I go there, folks, because I'm going to tie this bad boy up with a bow here. Well, there's the thing too, Canada's delusional quest to replace U.S. trade. I like I said, I won't even talk about that today. We'll worry about that another time. But I will just say this, and I'll bring this on. This. Maybe if you got anyone in your life that you want to help learn some things and that might potentially have actually profound, long-lasting effects in our culture, where individual liberty and autonomy and sovereignty is genuinely respected, this might be a good place to start. I'll be picking up my own actual physical copy, by the way. So I'm not just suggesting you. I'm going to do it myself. Practice what I preach, kind of thing. But yeah, Peaceful Parenting by Stefan Molyneux seems like a really good source if you really, because like I say, and as Molyneux has said many times before, a generally peaceful, prosperous society starts with, having at least a few generations of kids raised to understand what being a free human being is, and what force and coercion and how force and coercion and threats thereof are all antithetical to that, especially when you're talking about at the state level. But even at the individual level, we need to learn how to raise our kids in a manner, not to reject violence entirely in terms of being able to defend yourself. Of course, any parent, you would be remiss and foolish and stupid or naive to allow your kids to be so vulnerable as to tell them to never, ever use violence. No, there's times when that in defense of their lives or the lives of their loved ones, violence is perfectly acceptable. Even under fucking most laws in most countries, but to not teach and raise your kids that violence is and always is the ultimate means to the end. That's why we live in the crazy fucking society we are today, because most people actually believe that force and violence is the only way. And until they've been shown that there is another way, they're going to continue to believe that very same nonsense. And we're not going to be able to get out from underneath this mess anytime soon. So yeah, it starts at home and it starts at how you raise your children. So I definitely recommend, and I'm not getting paid for any of this stuff. I'm just saying, I just think it's a great resource. And with the holidays coming up and Christmas season fastly approaching, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. And for $17.99, I mean, come on, it's not that much money. Not that much. Anyways, folks, I do thank you fine folks who do come and frequent my live streams. And yeah, I did kind of go on a bit of a little tirade and rant today, but hey, it is what it is. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to do any more. I'll still do more, but I'm going to be a little bit more selective and methodical maybe about how I deal with things these days, because I just don't want to contribute, right? And as much as like I say, at the personal level, a lot of these folks are good folks. I don't have anything against them at the personal level whatsoever. I just don't feel right if I'm just constantly contributing to engaging in nothing but political discourse, or engaging in making the left versus right or the conservative versus liberal such dominant part of the discourse today. It's just not where I am. It's not where my mind's at. And I feel like I'm deceiving myself in some way and people like yourself when I do so. Anyways, thanks for coming and check out this live stream. If you get a chance, maybe give it a share to some other people who might want to see it. If not, it is what it is. In the meantime, have a great week and enjoy the rest of the day. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.